StraighTAllDay.com.
Sound check 1 2. You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative to go get an energy that moves anyone. Yes, anyone, to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show. And it is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic, racism is legal. Racism is legal, and some other truths that you must learn to accept. The reason why I'm talking about this subject, and I'm gonna step on some of what I'm gonna give you on my points here, but I want to give you a good introduction here so you understand why we're talking about this and why I titled it what I titled it. Is that these days being offended is almost like a business. Being offended is an industry in itself. Someone gets offended about something that somebody else says, you bring it to light. Somebody might have said something to a small audience of people. Maybe they said it to one person, maybe they only said it to you, maybe they said it to their followers and they only got 150 followers, but you were offended by it, you were bothered by it. You think that it could cause a firestorm if you make enough noise about it, so you bring it to light. You bring it to your 5,000 followers. One of your followers brings it to their 50,000. One of them brings it to somebody with 1 million. And all of a sudden, we got a full-blown controversy over something that you were offended by, something that somebody said, a joke that somebody made, something somebody said that maybe they weren't joking, maybe they were being dead serious, but they offended you. You just didn't like what they said. You don't like how they appeared to feel about a certain situation, about a certain group, about a certain person, about a certain whatever. You were offended by it, and you make a whole bunch of noise about it. You make a big stink about it, and it becomes a thing. And then that person, maybe they get attacked, maybe you get attacked, maybe it becomes a big back and forth. A whole lot of time, a whole lot of attention, a whole lot of money, a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of focus is invested into this whole clusterfuck of somebody being offended by something that somebody else said. And what is the return on this investment? Usually it's zero. Usually it's a zero-sum game. You use energy, they use energy, they come at you, you go at them. Everybody's putting all this energy out. Nobody wins anything, but a whole lot of time gets wasted. I guess it creates content. I guess if it does nothing else, then at least the people like me making episodes like this. That's actually what it does. All right, I'm the one who wins off it. I'm the scavenger who wins off of it after watching you and whomever else go back and forth over something that you were offended by. But today's topic, here's what I want you to understand. It is not against the law for somebody to offend you. It's not illegal for somebody to hate your race, to hate your gender, to hate your color, to hate your religion, to hate where you come from, your nationality, to hate your culture, to hate your music, to hate your clothes. If they literally just hate it, if they come out and just say, I hate Jewish people, I hate black people, I hate women, I hate people from this state, I hate people from this country, I hate people who wear these kind of clothes, I hate people who listen to that rappity hippity hop music. If somebody comes out and says that is not against the law. It may seem like it these days, the way that people get into an uproar anytime someone offends them in some way, shape, or form. I'm here to set you straight and let you know that it's not. It's not illegal. It's not illegal for somebody to be racist. Did y'all know that? Do you know that racism is legal? Because it's been going on. Nowadays, I mean, you get to know about it a little bit more now because everybody has a microphone, but nothing's changed. This ain't new. It's just now you know. All right, that it was always there. Now you can see it. Now you can feel it. Now you can touch it. Or now you can accuse someone of it. But I'm letting you know today. Today's topic is not really about racism. We'll talk about that. But I want you to understand that racism is legal. And there are a whole lot of other truths that you must learn to accept in life about when it comes to other people's opinions, other people's positions, what you think other people represent, because you don't really always know what another person represents, but you can label somebody for representing anything that you want because you can see whatever you want to see in another person, right? We all know that we had the ability to do this. You look around, won't be too hard to find a whole bunch of people telling you what another person represents, even though they never heard that other person say that. We ain't even gotta, that'd be a whole another episode to itself. But today's topic again, let's just get into our points because I'm going to give you all of this here in the points. The topic again is racism is legal and other truths that you must learn to accept. Number one, if someone offends you, that is not a crime. You can't call the cops on somebody for offending you. All right, somebody makes a homophobic joke You can't call the cops on them for doing that because you're LGBTQ. That's not a law. A law has not been broken. Okay. Now, if somebody punches you in the face, you call the cops for that. But if somebody says something that you don't like, all right, that ain't no crime. You can't. Maybe you could take somebody to court for it. Maybe, I don't know. In America, actually, the most litigious society that we have, you probably could, but it's not a crime. You understand? You cannot police opinions. You cannot police dialogue. Though there are many people trying to do exactly that these days. I was just starting to watch, as of this recording, I was just starting to watch this Kevin Hart docu-series that he has on Netflix. It's called Don't Fuck This Up. I would suggest you watch it. If you're a Kevin Hart fan, even if you're not a Kevin Hart fan, you just like good, it's not a cinema, it's a documentary. So whatever you call that. In cinema, they call it cinematography. So what do you call a good documentography? Whatever you call it. It's a good documentary series about Kevin Hart. I'm about halfway through it to this point. But I started watching this, and of course, one of the things that it centers around is when Kevin Hart lost his spot hosting the Oscars. And if y'all don't know about that, what happened is Kevin Hart was chosen to host the Oscars, and he was excited about it because he had said that this was one of his career goals, was to be the host of the Oscars. The Oscars is a big deal, I guess, in the acting world, the thespian world. I don't really watch movies hardly at all. I watch documentaries, not movies, so I didn't know it was that big of a deal, but obviously it is. So Kevin Hart was excited. But about a day, maybe, after he was announced to be the host, a bunch of people, obviously they did what people do these days, was they went and found the receipts, the quote-unquote, the Kevin Hart receipts. He's been online for a long time. He's been a comedian for a long time, like 20 plus years in the game. And of course, he had said something that somebody could be offended by. Kevin Hart had made some homophobic jokes probably about 10 years prior, around 2009, 10-ish. He had done some stand-up where he made some homophobic jokes, where he said something along the lines of, if I found out my son was gay, then I would be mad at my son and I would, try to keep my son from being gay. All right, that's basically what he said. You can go look up the jokes yourself. But he said it in a funny way. It's in a way that I found funny. But again, I'm not LGBTQ, so maybe it makes sense that I find it funny. So maybe you're offended by that. But anyway, he said that. And some people brought it to light that Kevin Hart made these jokes. He said these things. He had also posted some tweets where he had said some homophobic things in his tweets. Like, if I see my son playing with a dollhouse, I'm going to bust him over the head with it. It said, stop doing that. That's gay. And people laughed. And it was funny. The way that he said it was funny. And again, I'm not LGBTQ, so maybe you're like, of course you find it funny, Dre. But anyway, I found it the fuck funny. So he has all of a sudden he has this firestorm around him. First it was everybody celebrating Kevin Hart's going to host the Oscars. Then the next minute it was, oh shit, Kevin Hart, he shouldn't host the Oscars because he said these homophobic things 10 years ago. So what happens is Kevin Hart goes on, Kevin Hart first of all came out and said, look, I said those things back then. It was a joke, obviously, because Kevin Hart's a damn comedian, but people found it offensive. So Kevin Hart gave an apology for that thing. And he said he had already apologized for it. I don't know if he meant now or he had said something about it in the past, whatever. He ended up going on the Ellen show, and he basically addressed it that one time. He said, I'm going to address this one time here on the Ellen show, and I'm not going to keep addressing it over and over again. And in Kevin's docu-series on Netflix, he's talking to one of his managers, and his manager is like, look, you pretty much got to go on an apology tour, because everywhere you go, people are going to ask you about this. You just got to give the apologies. You got to go on an apology tour. This is a normal PR thing that people do when it comes out that they did something bad. But Kevin Hart is telling his manager, listen, I'm not fucking doing it. I'll go on the shows, but I'm just going to tell them I already addressed it on that show. I'm not going to keep going over it and apologizing over and over and over again. You're not going to make me do that because shit, I addressed it one time. I'm not going to keep addressing it. So anyway, of course, a bunch of people who are, I guess, supporting the rights of the LGBTQ community and people who are part of that community, they were just really up in arms about Kevin Hart, saying that he shouldn't be able to host the Oscars, just be taken away from him, etc., etc. What eventually happened is the Oscars came to Kevin and they said, listen, Kevin, you got two options. You can either come out and issue a formal apology right now about what you said back then, those jokes, tweets that you made back then, to anti-homophobic stuff, or we're going to have to find somebody else to host the Oscars. And Kevin Hart, he posted this on his IG or wherever he posted it when this happened. He said, I told him I'm not doing it. They're going to have to find somebody else. Even though, and this is the thing about that whole situation, I applauded Kevin Hart for doing what he did. Not because I'm homophobic, not because I'm against the LGBTQ community, but because Kevin Hart was in a position of power strong enough that if the Oscars were to threaten him like that and say, you have to do what we say or we're taking it away, Kevin Hart had the power to say, fuck you, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do and not apologize for it. I actually talked about that at that time when it happened. He had the power to not need the spot hosting the Oscars, whereas damn near anyone in the industry would take a job hosting the Oscars or a gig hosting the Oscars. But he had the power to say fuck you to it. And you call that power money. You could call it internal fortitude. I say it was more internal than it was about his money. Yes, of course he has money. I don't know how much, but he had the internal fortitude to turn that down, because there are plenty of people who had just as much money as him who would have did the apology. So it really wasn't about the dollar amount. So any of you who thinks that, but the point is, many would have done it against their will because they either needed the gig or they wanted it so much. But that's a whole nother conversation we'll talk about on another day. The point is this: if somebody offends you, it's not a crime. The people in the LGBTQ community who were offended by the fact that Kevin Hart made some homophobic jokes back then, I don't care if he made the jokes last week. All right, first of all, he's a comedian. His job is to make jokes. Just like when Dave Chappelle came out with the Sticks and Stones thing, he made some LGBTQ. He did a whole part of his show was talking about LGBTQ, and I found it funny. But of course, again, I'm not in that group, so maybe of course I found it funny. Some of you may be saying, and some of you may be able to take that and accept it as a joke. A joke is a joke. Listen, I watch black comedians make stereotypical black jokes for years. I never heard a black person pull those receipts up and hold it against a black person for making stereotypical black jokes. But now there are certain groups who you just can't joke about. I suppose that's what it is these days. But that's the whole point of what we're talking about here today. Just because somebody says something that offended you, whether they were joking, whether they were dead fucking serious, whether they were trying to make you upset, whether they were trying to make you cry, whether they were attacking you with their words, that is not a crime. You can't call the cops on somebody for that. While you can make a fuss about it, or you can get somebody kicked off the Oscars for not apologizing, your offense, the fact that you were offended, still exists. Whether Kevin Hart does the Oscars or not, you're still offended by his tweets, right? I mean, the tweets didn't go away. The fact that he said it can't be unsaid. The fact that he joked about it can't be unjoked. So whether he does the Oscars or not, you're still offended. You know, people say things like, and I've talked about Trump here. I did an episode where I told you the things that you could learn from President Donald Trump. That was episode number 1232. What you could, should, and will learn from Donald Trump if you were able to turn off your emotions long enough to pay attention. But people like to say, well, Trump is a racist. That's what I've heard people say. Donald Trump is a racist. Now, I've seen Donald Trump come on Twitter and say, I don't have a racist bone in my body. But some people think he is a racist. They think he's just saying that to say it. All right, well, here's my answer to that. Because Trump said he's not a racist. Some people say he is a racist. Here's my answer. What if he is? So what? Racism is not a crime. That's the whole topic here today. It's not a crime to be racist. You know that there are racist people out there, right? Against every race. There are racist people against blacks. There are racist people against whites. There are racist people against any other, I don't know what the other races are. Whatever they are, there is somebody out there who hates your race, whatever race you are, whatever country you're from, whatever religion you are. There are people out there who actually hate it, and they would openly let you know that they hated it if they were able to communicate with you. They will tell you that they hate it. And guess what? That's not a crime. And some people say, well, it might not be a crime, Dre, but anybody who votes for Trump, they're also racist because they're supporting racism. Well, let me tell you something. That would make 60 million racists in America, because that's how many people voted for him. And we ain't got enough prisons for all those people. All right. Now, I know we got a lot of them, but it ain't that many. And here's the thing. Let's just say that they're all racist. Let's say everybody who voted for Trump, who supports Trump, whoever put on a MAGA hat, who supports somebody who supported him. Kanye supported him. Kanye got millions of fans. So does that make all his fans also racist because they're supporting the guy who supported a racist? I mean, how far does it go? You understand the slippery slope you get on once you start labeling people in these ways? So let's just say that they're all racist. Kanye, everybody who supported Trump, anyone who's ever shaken his hand, Oprah, because he's been on her show before, everybody he's been cool with a lot of people, and a lot of people know him. A lot of people been in his buildings and lived in his places that he's put together. Let's just say all of them are racist. Okay. Now what you gonna do? Now you've identified all the racists. Now what? Now some people's counter to my argument here, and I understand it is I'm being very practical in this argument, for lack of a better term. You may use a different word to describe what I'm saying here. You may say, well, Dre, just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's right. I accept that. But let me ask you this question. Here's my counter to that point. Who's the judge of what's right and what's wrong? Are you the judge? I mean, what's the saying in the Bible? He without sin shall cast the first stone. All right, so who's throwing the first stone? Crickets. Point number 2. Today's topic is racism is legal, and some other truths that you must come to terms with, or you're going to live a very difficult life. Point number 2, stop being a bitch. That's the second point. Episode number 86. The topic was stop whining, bitch. So I'm giving you, that's the point here today. Stop whining. Stop being a bitch. When I say bitch, what I mean is not a female dog. I mean complaining and whining about things which you cannot change, which you are not responsible for, which are not going to change just because you're complaining about them. That's what I mean when I say bitch. Being offended is not cause for revolution. It's not. If you're going to become a somebody in life, and there's a class coming up on that exact topic, how to become a somebody in life, or how to deal with what comes with being a somebody in life. If you plan on being a somebody in life, if you plan on being anything other than average, let me tell you something. People will be trying. They will be trying and trying very hard to offend you in some way, shape, or form. Why is that? Because there's some people out there who don't want to be a somebody, but to get attention from a somebody would mean everything. To just get you to reply to them will mean something. To just get you to block them, they feel like they accomplished something. You know, there are people out there who will harass you on social media just to get blocked by you, and then they can celebrate the fact that you blocked them because you had to at least notice them to block them, right? There are people out there who live like that, who think like that. So I want you to understand that when you become a somebody in life, there will be people who will be trying very hard just to offend you. So what are you going to do then? Now you're somebody. Now you have status. Now your name is known. There are people who are trying to offend you. What are you going to do? Are you going to start a hashtag about every person who offends you? Are you going to galvanize your fans to attack every person who offends you who has 20 followers? Is that what you're going to do? They have an egg avatar. You don't even know if it's a real person. Is that what you're going to do? If you can't take a joke about yourself, then you have a sensitivity problem. And if you can't take people talking bad about you, here's my advice to you. Don't become great at what you do, because there'll be more and more of them the better you get. Let me say that once again. If you cannot take it when people talk, if you cannot take it when people make a joke about you, then that means you have a sensitivity problem. And if you can't handle it when people talk bad about you, don't become great at what you do. Don't even think about becoming great, because the better you get, there will be more and more people saying negative things about you. In this life, if you're going to become somebody, you need thick skin. You cannot go around reacting to everything and everyone. So that means you got to learn to either ignore people, block them, delete them, send their messages to spam, whatever you got to do. But you can't fight every single battle. Now, you don't have the time, attention, and energy to fight every battle, especially once you become a somebody, because you're going to need to focus on the thing that made you a somebody. All right, and those nobodies, egg avatars who are attacking you or have something negative to say about you or offend you in whatever way, even if they're not trying to offend you, you can't go at all of them. You ain't got the time. What are you going to do then? Point number 3. Today's topic is racism is legal and other truths that you need to come to terms with. Control what you can control, things such as your mindset, your words, your actions, your reactions or lack of reaction / response. Everybody else is responsible for themselves. Even if you think another person is terribly wrong in their opinion, in their stance, and what they said about you and what they said about him, her, it, he or she, whatever. Even if you think a person is terribly wrong, it is not your job to play overseer to everyone else's point of view. Let me say that one more time. It is not your job to play overseer to everyone else's point of view. Everybody can think whatever the hell they want to think. If someone wants to support a person that you think is wrong, you can think that their support is incorrect. You can think that they are misguided. You can think that they are delusional. You can think that they just are idiots. You can think that they don't have the right information. You can think that if they were to just look up and research all the stuff that you've looked up and researched, quote unquote, looked up and researched, that they would have a different idea, right? You can think whatever the hell you want to think, but you cannot police all of that. You ain't got the time. You don't have the attention. You don't have the energy. You don't have the focus. And you're losing money when you're investing in all those and things that are not going to help you. Leave everyone else to be responsible for them. If they're saying something dumb or doing something dumb or representing something dumb, listen, you can't go running around leaving a comment on everybody's posts. All right, responding to everybody's caption. All right, telling everybody how wrong they are, sending everybody an email, complaining to everybody's employer, trying to get them fired, starting a hashtag about everything that offends you, because there's going to be too many things. You look hard enough, you'll never run out of things to be offended by. When's the last time you changed another person's mind by telling them how wrong they were? When's the last time that happened? Tell me. Somebody was really wrong. You felt like they were wrong. You let them know that they were wrong, and you expressed it to them. You expressed it to them as clearly as you could. You gave them a piece of your mind, letting them know how wrong they were. When's the last time that strategy changed another person's mind? Where they said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I was so wrong to think the way that I think. I'm so wrong to have that opinion. I'm so wrong to have my point of view. I'm so wrong to have my perspective. Thank you for straightening me out and telling me how wrong I was. I'm going to change my opinion to match yours. When's the last time that happened? Probably never. So how about you stop trying? Let's recap today's topic, which is racism is legal and other truths that you must learn to accept. Point number one, if somebody offends you, that is not a crime. You cannot police other people's opinions. You cannot police dialogue, though many people are trying to. When Kevin Hart lost his Oscar spot because he wouldn't do the apology tour, I applauded the fact that he had the power to not do it. But the thing is, the people who were offended by Kevin Hart's tweets from 2009, the thing is, whether he does Oscars or not, he still said it. He still made a joke about it. People are still laughing at it. What are you going to do about it? You can't unsay what he said. You can't unjoke the jokes. So just the fact that he ended up not doing the Oscars now, maybe you can say you, quote, won. What did you win? What did you get? What did you gain from him not doing the Oscars? Nothing. Is Kevin Hart still Kevin Hart? The Oscars are still the Oscars. The jokes are still the jokes. And you're still offended. So who won anything out of that? You put all that time and energy into it, but what actually was the result? Nothing. Your offense is still sitting there. So see, being offended by things, again, there's no reparation for being offended. There's no reparations for that. There's no 40 acres and a mule for you being offended by something somebody else said. When people say, well, Trump is a racist. Well, racism ain't a crime. So what if he's racist? What if he is? Somebody says, well, anybody who votes for him is racist. Or if you support somebody who supported him, then you're also racist. Well, we ain't got enough jails for all those people. What are you going to do then? Just because something's legal, you say, just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's right, Dre. Well, okay, who's the judge? Are you the judge of what's right and what's wrong? And who put you in charge? All right, have you never done anything wrong to be able to cast stones at somebody else? Probably not. Point number two, stop being a bitch. Being offended is not cause for revolution. If you're going to become a somebody in life, people will be trying very hard every single day to offend you in some way, to get your attention in some way by offending you. What are you going to do then? Are you going to hashtag each one of them? If you can't take a joke about you, if you believe it's a joke, you have a sensitivity problem. If you think somebody's trying to offend you, don't become great at what you do if you can't deal with people trying to offend you, because they will be trying and they will succeed if you can't take it, because there'll be more and more of them every single day. You need thick skin to become a somebody in this life. You can't go around reacting to everything and everyone. Learn how to ignore people, to block them, to delete them, to send them to spam, but you can't fight every single battle. You can't fight everybody. Point number three, control what you can control, which is your mindset, your words, your actions, and your reactions. Everyone else is responsible for themselves. Even if you think another person is terribly wrong, it is not your job to play overseer of everybody else's point of view. When's the last time you changed somebody's mind by telling them how wrong they were? Probably never, and it will never happen, so stop trying. Work on your game. Dre all day.